you said music. So this is my vinyl collection. Alright, so let's start with this one. So this one right here, this is inverted. You cannot really read it. There you go. Yeah, so it's Faraquet. Faraquet is one of my favorite bands. It's like so fucking good. One of the first bands that got me into math rock. That's the good stuff. This is math rock basically. I got this vinyl. It's very rare. Actually, I got it, like I imported it. And it's just what you hear basically. It's a pretty good band. I love it. So that's one. This is Björk. I have a lot of Björk. This is like number 4, I think. Vespertine. Yeah, I think it's number 4 album of Björk. It's pretty good. Just hair like on this position. Pretty good album. This is the album that has Pagan poetry. Is like the most famous one on this album. Yeah, I love vinyls. For me, the coolest thing about vinyls is, first of all, the art is great. It's like buying, you know, like a frame, a picture of something, you know, because they're big and all that. And just like sitting down, putting a vinyl down, it really doesn't sound better than a FLAC, honestly. It sounds just as good as a FLAC, like a lossless file. But the cool thing is, you force yourself into listening the entire album as a whole. Like, you have no option. You have to hear the entire thing. And that's kind of cool, because you start seeing the album as a piece of media, like entire piece of media, instead of listen to songs alone, which is cool on its own, but it's a different experience, let's say. It's not better or worse, just a different thing. So this is Bonobo. This is the best album of Bonobo by far. It's a DJ. It's like really, really good. I'm actually gonna put a song of Bonobo after this. You can get the idea. Okay, so this is Bonobo. None of the albums of Bonobo are actually like this one. This one has the best samples, because Bonobo is a DJ. So he's using samples all the time on this song, for example. And the best samples he has ever used are on Black Sands. Like, they're so fucking good. Like, just hear that thing, the clarinet. Jesus, good. So here's another one from Björk. This one is a LP from... It's a soundtrack of a movie called Dancer in the Dark. It's a pretty good movie from Larks, but it's very rough. Like, if you don't like to be sad, do not watch this movie, because it's so fucking sad. It actually makes me really sad to hear to this album. It's like rough. It's a very good album though, and I don't think any of the songs are actually sad themselves. It's just that the meaning with the songs and the movie is what makes it really sad. Like, we can just like that. Something like that. It's pretty good. He's one of my King Crimsons of the color triad that I like to call the albums from the 80s. The 3 color albums. This is 3 of a Perfect Pair, which definitely the 3 of a Perfect Pair for me is the triad of the colors. Yeah, it's super minimalistic. And the triad of the colors, which I call to call it, is 3 albums that each represent a color and a symbol, and they're very, very minimalistic. The songs on them, not so much. Weird progressive rock. This is Muse, the Black Holes and Revelations. So you can see the 4 Knights of Sidonia. And Muse has this thing that they like to don't put names on their albums. They always just put the portrait, just like Led Zeppelin on the early days, or rather Led Zeppelin 4 at least, that doesn't have like a name. And yeah, this is pretty good album. Yeah, this is Knight of Sidonia, exactly. And also like Map of Problematique, Black Holes, Revelations. I mean, Supermassive Black Hole. And what's the other very good one. Starlight? Star something. It's pretty good. This is the second album of King Crimson. Another pretty good one. Kinda underrated album in my opinion. I find it as good as the first one, but a lot of people just love the first one instead. This one is a little bit more chill. Kind of an extension of the first one, honestly. It has about the same style. I always forget how to put this. I think it's like this. This is Mars Volta, octahedron. You can see the octahedron right here. The geometrical figure. This album is, the portrait is just chaos. But the album itself is actually not chaotic. I think, in my opinion, Octahedron is one of the most cohesive albums of Mars Volta. Like, the songs are very cohesive between each other, and they match into each other very well. It's the only vinyl I have from Mars Volta. I wish I had more, because I love Mars Volta, one of my favorite bands. This is Mahavishnu Orquestra. This is pretty good shit. It's old prog, fusion with jazz and funk. This album in particular doesn't have a lot of funk. It's more jazzy and more dark too. But it's pretty good. Birds of Fire. It's a pretty good album. From the Mahavishnu are known for popularizing the electric violin, basically. I don't know if they invented it, but they definitely popularized it. This is Flairck. It's a band from Holland. They play folk music, like folk and folk rock. It's pretty good. Some chill stuff. It's actually hard to find stuff from Flairck in the internet. I have a bunch on my computer and on vinyls, but for some reason it's not that easy to find on the internet. Although vinyls of Flairck are extremely easy to find in Chile, because the two countries where Flairck is more known in the world are Holland and Chile. Believe it or not. Because they have a story of being a lot with Chileans in the past, like progressive Chileans, like the 70s and stuff. And so they have a history with Chile, kinda. I've seen Flairck live twice here in Chile, because they come to Chile, and they give the best shows ever. It's crazy. And they have tribute bands here too. This is Red from King Crimson. What a lot of people say is their best album. It kinda is. It's at least on my top tier of King Crimson for sure. It's pretty good. Has a little bit of everything from King Crimson. It's kind of a middle ground. If you want to learn something about King Crimson, you can start here. It's a pretty good album. Radiohead, King of Limbs. Awesome album. I love it. For a while, I had my problems with it, and I used to Jóga. It was kind of Eraser 2. Eraser is the solo album of Thom Yorke. This has a lot of Thom Yorke. In some parts, not a lot of Radiohead. That said, I learned to love it, and now I love it actually. And it's kind of a scary portrait. But it's pretty good. Another King Crimson. This is also, a lot of people say their favorite album. It's kind of in my low tier of King Crimson. I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's just not as good as others for me. Like, I find others way superior than this. This is Larks in Aspic. This is the other triad of colors of King Crimson too. Beat. So one color, one symbol, and that's about it. Very good album. Kind of underrated in my opinion. A lot of people put it on the downside of the trial colors, but I love this album. Another Flairck. I don't know if this is the first album. It might be the first album. There's a lot of the classics. East to West Express, yeah, that's classic. And Street Organ Waltz, which I think is Stoomwals. Just a bad translation, because that's the thing with Flairck. They get all sorts of translations. And you can see the guys here, like playing different instruments. You know, they play some like stuff from here, you see. That's why they have kind of a good relationship with Chile, for example. Another Björk. Post? No, Post is the second one. This is the third one. What is the name of this? It's the one with Jóga. Homogenic, there you go. Yeah, it's the third album, I think. I have Homogenic, Vespertine, Soundtrack 1, and I think that's it. I kind of want more Björks. I would like to get Medulla. Medulla's pretty good. Also, one of the best portraits ever made, in my opinion. Like, the front of that album is so fucking awesome. Talking about the Eraser, I got the Eraser from Thom Yorke. Pretty chill album. Pretty lovely. And I really like the portrait with black and white and all that. With this mysterious lad doing some magical stuff, I guess. Pretty good album. Of course, we have this King Crimson #1 in the court of the Crimson King. Every Crimson fan has this. This is the classic of classics. And you can like do this, of course. Then another classic from Radiohead, OK Computer. This was my second vinyl. I got it for Christmas from my father. Before I even had a turntable to play it. This is just awesome album. All-time classic in my opinion for alternative rock. Never gets old. We're almost at the end. Another Flairck. Again, remember, Flairck is actually very easy to get on Chile. If you go to Perso Bio Bio, which is a market where you can get a lot of vinyls, you're gonna find a lot of Flairck easily. And super cheap too. Really, really cheap. All my Flaircks were like 8k pesos, 8,000, which is very cheap for a vinyl. Like, believe it or not. So yeah, this is Variations on a Lady. I think this is the first album, actually. Because Variations on a Lady is like the quintessential song of Flairck, in my opinion. Yeah, it has a Iofi too. It has Sophia. Sophia is also a very good song. And you can see the 4 lads that compose Flairck. Flairck is always composed of 4 musicians: guitar, acoustic bass, violin, and flute. There's some configurations that have more people, but that is like the canonical Flairck. Always 4 people playing those 4 instruments. And this is my first vinyl that I ever got. King Crimson Discipline, which is what you're hearing right now. The song is frame by frame, but it's from the Discipline. And yeah, this basically got me into vinyls. You can tell it's pretty old because it has the mark of the vinyl. All my King Crimsons are from the time. These are like not remasters, because I'm actually not the biggest fan of remasters. At least of old rock, let's say, because I think old rock just sounds fine. I like other kinds of remasters. And I don't know, there's just something kind of magical about having a vinyl, you know, that it's like from many years ago, you know. And yeah, the symbol is great. I love it. And yeah, that's my collection. I also have a CD collection, but that's for another day. Okay. And yeah, like talking about that, this is also from a band. This is Sithu Aye. I don't have any vinyl because I don't think Sithu has ever made a vinyl. I have some CDs though. But it's a progressive rock band. It's a little bit worn out. This used to be a whole line. This one too. But yeah. So, thank you for spending the points, Solero. You got your interesting time for today. Now I need to put the vinyls on vertical position, because that way, you know, the force, the gravity isn't like on this axis on the vinyl. You have it on this position and like you pile them up one over another. The gravity goes in this way, and so the vinyls on the lower part get pressured by the other vinyls and they start getting damaged. So you always wanted to have it like this, stored like this way. Just some vinyl facts, I guess. I always suffer when I see vinyls piled like that. Yeah, no, there's actually a reason. There's a lot of like vinyl care, because that's one of the problems of vinyls, that they need care, unlike CDs. Well, CDs also need, but less. Like you can have them in their case forever and nothing's gonna happen to a CD. But with vinyls, you need a little bit of care. Vinyls don't sound better than a FLAC, a lossless file. And actually, as time passes, vinyls get worse and worse, because they're analogic, and so they worn out eventually, depending on how good you take care of them. No, it doesn't sound better on vinyl. The first time you hear a vinyl, like very first time it's played on a turntable, it's gonna sound as good as FLAC. FLAC is a lossless file, a file that doesn't lose any information on digital. Any audible information, at least, that you can hear.